Welcome everyone. Today I have celebrity healer Adrien Blackwell on the Magnetically Aligned Woman. Adrien Blackwell has been featured on many TV shows around the globe, including E, NBC News, Travel Channel, and Bio Channel. Adrien has a healing background as a Reiki Master-Teacher, Shamanic Healer, Theta Healer, and Medical Qigong student. That was the catalyst for her to create her own modality, Ascended Healing, and the recorded healing called Ascension Codes. Now she is a full-time healer helping people create the lives they've always wanted. I'm so excited to welcome you, Adrien.
Thank you.
Now, this is very, very new to me. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do and how you even got started on this path?
I think it'd be easier to tell you exactly how I got started on this path and then what I do. So, very early on, I had psychic abilities. And I remember like my very first psychic ability when I was like 6 years old is the earliest I can remember something happening. And for me, it was normal, it was common sense, the information that I was getting. I didn't think it was anything special or anything anybody else wasn't doing. I really just thought the rest of the world was stupid. And I'm not joking. I couldn't understand why adults were so dumb. And then it was when I was 15 is when somebody explained to me, like, it's not us, you. And, they were like, you're psychic. And so then I started to put the pieces together of like, oh, that's why people weren't seeing what I was seeing or understanding what's not just common sense. So it was something that I kind of pursued only in the fact that I wanted to look at tarot cards and I wanted to, read books on psychic abilities and stuff like that. But I didn't pursue it anything other than that. People would come to me and they would be like, what do you see happening for me, on this day? Or, friends would bring friends to the house and I would just be like, oh, this is what I see. And it was always right. And so I kind of got that I was psychic and then I completely dropped it. I was like, oh, that was fun, moving on with my life. So I had always seen psychically that I would be on TV. So at the time that I was in my, 19, 20 years old, the only thing I know is movies and television shows. But that's kind of what I pursued. And we were supposed to have a role on Xena Warrior Princess at the time. And anybody my age knows what that is. Somebody your age may not. But we had went over to New Zealand and I started acting. And so that's how a lot of the stuff started to unfold for me, was because I'm in a completely different country. I have none of my family members judging me. I don't have to think about anything in terms of what other people were thinking of me. And I decided to finally go to a psychic and I was terrified. I was shaking in my boots while I'm, shuffling the tarot cards. And then after the reading, I was like, it's not that scary. So I went to another one. And I started to just get familiar with the process and I started asking them questions about just the psychic ability and what that means and everything else during the reading, instead of asking what my future would hold. And that's really how my experience as a psychic really started to unfold. And what's really interesting is before all of this started, before I went to New Zealand to be an actress, I actually had went to the Twin Lakes Healing School of Arts to become a Reiki master. And I still didn't understand this world. I only understood that healing modality, right? And so I actually started this whole journey, as a healer. And I still didn't understand that that's what I was going to be doing versus being a celebrity psychic, which I did for 12 years. And all of this started to unfold as people would literally stop me and go, I feel like I'm supposed to give you a healing modality. Let me show you how to use this real quick. This is how you transfer it. And then they would be off. I'm like, what just happened? And then I would start, being invited to take courses with my best friend who got me into the Medical Qigong. I mean, it just unfolded, literally just kept unfolding. And I still didn't get the message. What I was going to be doing, And I even had, I was watching a news report of a woman who was doing some healing work. And my guides actually came in and said to me out loud, you'll be doing this in the future. And I was like, she's a healer. I'm not going to be doing that. And so when it actually fell into my lap through another friend, I was like, no, 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 and no. And finally, after experiencing the healing, I said yes. And I realized this is what I was meant to be doing. And this is what I'll be doing. And it's just kind of catapulted from there. But it took me years to finally understand that that's what I would be doing, which is funny to me. That's
Wow.
how I started. Yeah.
Well, how long did it take you to realize, like, you learning all of these modalities and then people coming to you? At what point and what age did you finally realize, like, oh, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing?
It took me 12 long years.
12 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I went to New Zealand in 2000 and 2000. A time gets so skewed up when you get older, where you're literally sitting there like 2000 and what, and then it was 2000. So it was year 2000, and so everything kind of started unfolding there. But I think it was 1999. I took Reiki class, and so it took me another year to still get that. You know, I was going to be doing something along the lines of spirituality as a career. And then when I came back, I literally started doing readings at a metaphysical shop. I was invited to be on the news to make a prediction, and my prediction was correct. And it just kind of catapulted from there, being a celebrity psychic, like literally meeting celebrities, working for them, being on TV, being in magazines. Like there was so much that unfolded during that 12 years where I'm thinking, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then all of a sudden that was just like halted. Nope, this is not it. It's actually the healing work that you started way back in the beginning.
Wow.
Have been doing every year since then. But I get it now, because I understand that it was part of the path. As I had to, you know, I took classes after classes after classes. I didn't do anything further with the psychic stuff because I was born that way. I didn't have to do anything extra. I just had to understand how I read people. Healing stuff was literally 12 years of education. It was 12 years of practice, working on my family, working on friends, because I thought that was the only reason I was doing it, was to help them and help myself. And so it was literally 12 years of perfecting it. And you don't generally just wake up one day and you decide you're a healer. You actually have to practice the modality, how to get people's energy without it being dangerous, without you taking on their diseases and so on and so forth. That's where the medical Qigong really helped out with, is that I'm not taking on other people's stuff, so that I could do this work professionally. So I understand the path now. It's funny to me that I still didn't get the clean that I was going to be a healer. Like, just never got it.
Incredible. So when we like mix the two, psychic and the healing, for you personally and for what you've read for other people, like, is there, with your psychic abilities, is there a way to tell the timeline, or it's just like a vague prediction of the future?
Both is true, because with energy, you're reading energy, right? A lot of people have literally made their own decisions, and a lot of people don't quite understand this, but your conscious mind only processes 2,000 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind is processing 2 billion. So you are making decisions that you don't even know you're making. I, as a psychic, could get into that frequency and look at the decisions you've made, and what's going to happen next because you made that decision. It's cause and effect. It's really not that mystical, even though in the background I look very mystical. It's not that mystical. It's actually very scientific, and they're proving this every day about how, you know, a twin could be in one country and another twin in another country, and something happens in one twin and the other twin knows about it. They'll make a phone call, like what just happened, right? We know through science that this is happening. We know that we're telepathic. If you believe in cell phones, you understand psychic ability. You have one person's brain waves as the tower, the other one, you know, is like a cell phone, which is the receiver, and vice versa. So we work just like a wireless service. So our brain waves are waves. They're going out to something. What are they going out to? And the reason people don't understand this on a scientific level is because we don't explore, we don't ask questions about it. And a lot of people are very religious, so they automatically get a no. Like, unless you're a prophet, it can't happen. So therefore, I'm not going to ask questions, right? But if you ask questions, you actually find out it's very scientific. There's not much mystical around it. But you know, it feels that way in the beginning. It feels very mystical.
It certainly does. I'm like, whoa. Because I'm still very early in the whole spiritual and understanding how energy works. So this is very cool. Now I know, like, um, it took a while for you to step into this power, and there's an understanding of why this happened, because it does take time for this practice to happen. So like, for somebody on their own path right now, like, how would you say the best way to find alignment for you, like, just personally?
What do you mean find alignment? What specifically, if
Honestly,
we were talking to you about you, where would you want to find alignment?
alignment for me would be like finally letting go and accepting myself for who I am and letting abundance come as my life unfolds. A lot of times I try to seek purpose, and that's very not self. Like trying to seek purpose and trying to make a difference in this world. And I feel like a lot of people have expressed this to me. Oh, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something by this age, by now. And a lot of young people, my friends and other millennials, have expressed this as well. I just feel lost in life. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, that kind of alignment.
So I've covered this in my own series that you know that I did, Making Miracles Happen. And I'm glad that I asked you, because I find that mindset very fascinating, because we've talked about this. I talked about this with at least 3 or 4 different speakers, is that people your age always have that belief system that I'm supposed to be doing this by this age. And that is the biggest misconception that you have as far as getting into alignment. It's your age. It's your, you start to feel like you're old before you're old. You start to feel like time is passing you by very quickly. You have all these misconceptions about life. And then as you get older, things start to calm down and you start to realize it's very different than what I thought. Very different. For you to become aligned, you have to realize there is no timetable, there is no time frame, there is no magical time limit, and then you're done. As long as you're alive, you can make a difference. As long as you're alive, you can find your purpose. I was literally thrown into my purpose. And when I say thrown into my purpose, let me explain to you what happened. I didn't have a lot of money. I had just left another state and went to go live with my mother at 19. I was with my daughter. I was a single parent. And I thought I wanted to be a massage therapist, but my class wasn't starting for 6 months. And I didn't just want to sit at home and do nothing. So I decided to go to the college to see what other healing work they had where I could keep my clothes on. Like, these are literally the stipulations I had. Like, I need to be able to keep my clothes on. And it cost a certain amount. I think it had to be like $300 and something or $400, under 500. I remember that. And so I go to the college, I asked them about this, and they said, the only thing we have is Brima at the time. And I didn't know what Brima was. I just asked her, can you keep your clothes on? And how much is it? And she said, this is like I think the only one we have right now. And so that one was going to be starting on a certain day at a certain time. And I didn't have a car, so I had to take a bus ride for an hour to get to that school. She told me while I'm sitting at the school, wait until the day of the class and I can come in and pay. Okay. So that morning, I get up, I get on the bus, I take the hour-and-a-half trip to the school. Once I get there, she goes, oh my God, I've been trying to call you for the last hour. I was like, well, I've been on the bus to get here. And she said, the class is full.
Oh,
She could have took my money right then and there when I signed up for it, and she didn't, right? But she said, the class is full. So I was like, this is a long trip home I don't want to take, right? I don't want to get on the bus right away right now. So I'm like, what do I do? And I said, is there another class that starts today for the same price and I can keep my clothes on? And she's like, let me look, because there's one, Reiki. And I said, and she goes, it's really hard to explain. I said, can you keep your clothes on? And she goes, yeah. And I said, I'll take it. And so I gave her the money immediately so it doesn't get full while I'm sitting there waiting for the class to start. And that's how I started my journey into Reiki and into the healing process. And Reiki absolutely opened me up and changed my whole entire life, right? I'm sitting here thinking I have to be on my path. I have to be on my purpose. Something has to happen in this specific time frame. And I don't realize this miracle that just happened to get me into this Reiki course, her not to charge me, for this class to get full, and for me to be basically pushed into doing Reiki, was me being on my path. It was me being on my purpose. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been open to the next energy and the next energy, because it just kind of grew on top of each other and expanded and got bigger. When I say bigger, I did a webinar, and a woman told me after the webinar she could feel the cancer leave her body.
wow.
And I guess when she went to go get checked again, she no longer had cancer. I don't claim to do any of this work. I can only tell you what testimonials are, what other people shared with me. That I know of, it hasn't happened again, but that experience alone, going, if that's what happened, if that's what's possible, that people are having these experiences one after another with different health conditions, with mental instability becoming stable, with money miracles. I had a woman who, she took a course with me and she wanted to become a millionaire at the end of the course, and I wanted to create millionaires, and within 2 months she was a millionaire.
Wow.
That was the beginning. That was the beginning of my destiny. I was already doing it. You doing what you're doing right now, you're already doing it. You're already on your destiny and you don't even realize it, right? Something started before this to get you here. That was a part of your destiny. You don't even realize it. You're already doing it. But being at that age, and we think that we're supposed to have proof of it. You know, we're supposed to have our millions of dollars and we're supposed to have 100,000 clients at age 22. And that's how we know we're going to make it for the rest of our lives. We don't realize that we're already on the journey, and it could take 20 years to see the results, the full results. But I mean, at that point, if you think about 22 being on your journey and having everything else happen, and then you have all this money and you have your career, what do you do next? If you look at actors, just think about this. If you, like I have, I've been able to see it for a lot longer than you, but I've noticed actors, you know, very, very young, and they movie after movie, they start getting paid 5 million, 10 million, 15 million per movie, 20 million per movie. And they finally get like a Golden Globe award, and then they get an Emmy, and then they get the Oscar, and the Oscar is like that end result. It's like the best of the best of the best. And what happens after a lot of people get the Oscar is they don't really get as many movie roles offered to them anymore. And I don't really understand that. I haven't figured that out yet. Then they also start to take a break because they're like, now I want to focus on my family. Now I want to have kids. Now I want to get married. Now I want to have all this other stuff, right? So it's like in their acting career, a lot of times they hit the end of the road. So what's next? If you think at age 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, you're supposed to have everything figured out, what's next? What do you do? And then at that point, it's like, already did everything, right? So you have to realize that this part of your life really is the journey. It's the perfecting of what you're supposed to be doing next. You're literally on the road to creating your passion and your purpose and how you're going to help people. You're already doing it. If people are listening to this right now, if they're watching your event, they're on their path. They're doing it. This is a part of it.
Very interesting. I love that you mentioned this, because as you were speaking, I think back to all the events that led up to this point. It wasn't like one specific thing that was like, oh, okay, I wake up and now I'm going to be doing this work. It was just like a lot of different things had to happen, and there were stops along the road, and then there was like alternative routes taken, and deciding not to do it, and trying so many different things to get to this point right here, right now, speaking with you.
You were perfecting your life. That's a part of perfection. And the idea, the concept that we have in our early 20s, and I'm telling you, I went through this big time. The concept we have is that, you know, it's no different than you birth a baby, and you expect that baby from the moment it comes out to be able to walk and to be able to feed itself, to be able to change its own diapers and then use the toilet, right? It's like that's what we're doing to ourselves. Every process in life is a process for a reason. We grow with every experience. And so when you have that baby, you nurture that baby, and that baby's stronger. It's able to start sitting up. Once it starts sitting up, now it can start to crawl. And after it starts to crawl, it can learn to walk. And after it learns to walk, then it can start grabbing onto food and taking care of itself a little bit more and letting you know, hey, I need my diaper change. We learn to talk, right? And so it's this process. And another analogy I use, it's like expecting a 5-year-old in kindergarten to be in college. It doesn't happen that way. So why do you expect to be 20 years old and have the life and career of somebody who's 40? It doesn't make sense. And so I think one gift that I can give to people who are younger, those of us who are older has figured out, is that it's a process. It's no different than the process of having a child and walking them through their process. And let me tell you a little secret. A lot of people don't know. I know because I'm dyslexic. And I'm slightly dyslexic, thankfully. I can read straight without things being backwards until it comes to numbers, and then sometimes I mess it up. But the reason children can become dyslexic is because they learn to walk before they ever crawled. Your brain does not develop in the same way which a child learned to crawl and then walk. There is a process that your brain has to go through to learn the next level of life, to learn the next step in life, so you can perfect perfection. That you can learn how to help people, that you can learn how to help them without messing them up. So you can learn how to make your millions, keep your millions, and enjoy your millions, right? Instead of getting it and then losing it. There's a process that your brain and your body and your cells go through. And when you're young, you're trying to force that process to not be there anymore. You're trying to force yourself through a process that needs to exist for a reason. And so the best advice I can ever give to somebody is to look at what got you here and know that you're already in alignment. And if it's not something that feels good, alignment doesn't always feel good. Sometimes alignment is being in an abusive relationship and realizing this isn't what I want. This isn't what I want to create in my future. This is not where I want to be in 20 years. And so the alignment is realizing that this isn't something I want and that I can choose something else. I can get out and choose something else. But what did that relationship bring you in that moment for you to realize what the next step is?
Wow.
All alignment.
Yeah.
You just have to decide if it's the alignment you want or alignment that's there to help you get what you want. And if it's only there to help you get what you want, you can get out of that situation into the next best one, a better one. So it's all a learning process. It's all like being a baby who's just learning how to do new things. Like, don't try to force yourself out of that process. Learn how to move with that process, with the next process.
Now I'm curious for like, now we call this like a state of being awake, that you're aware. But what happens for people who aren't aware that they're in this situation? Are they also still in alignment with their living or their life?
Their alignment with what they can be in alignment with. Sometimes it takes longer for certain people to get it. You know, there's somebody like just the use of abusive relationships, because you'll find a lot as you learn about people who've created completely different lives than where they were when they were in their early 20s. A lot of times it starts with some kind of relationship. Relationship seems to be a catalyst for so much growth. And you'll have somebody who between 19 and 20 had a really kind of dysfunctional relationship. And within that year, they decide, yeah, I'm never doing that again. I don't want that. But then you'll have somebody who's in that relationship for 10 years, from 20 to 30. Are they less in alignment? It took them longer to get to where they needed to be, but that's their process. That's why it's not really fair to treat every child in school the same. Not every child learns the same. Not every child is the same. A lot of times children have to be held back. Doesn't mean they're stupid. Absolutely not. It means they learn differently. I know people who told me that in high school, they took like French and could not understand. They couldn't do it. They literally just couldn't do it. And it's not a negative affirmation. It's the truth. But they said when they went to college and they go to take French, for some reason, they picked it up just like that. It's so simple. It was so easy because they were ready. Then you talk to other people who like, oh yeah, I picked that up as soon as I went to high school. I was so fluent in it. I could speak, Spanish so easily. So everybody is different, and you just have to respect where that person is without thinking they're not in alignment because you don't agree with where they are, because you know they could have a better future.
Mm.
That's why they call it the future. It's going to change eventually.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And part of the series is what does abundance look like for each person? So what does abundance look like for you?
For me, abundance means that I could do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want. It's freedom. I can't have abundance of anything else without freedom. I want to be able to eat the foods that I want to eat. There's a lot of neighborhoods that don't have fresh fruits and vegetables. They don't have grocery stores, and it's not something we normally think about, but it's usually Black areas. They're really, really poor areas. And so my freedom, I know, is to be able to walk to the store or to drive to the store and get fresh fruits and vegetables. I want to be able to eat what I want to eat, right? I want to have the option of having a Twinkie if I wanted a Twinkie, even though I don't like them. The freedom of being able to do it if I wanted to, right? And so many people on this planet don't have true freedom. And so they don't really have abundance. I feel like there's so many of us that think the world should be one way and we should only have this option or this option. The rest of the options should be taken away for the rest of us. But I like the idea of going to a buffet and I can try this dish if I want to try this dish, even if I don't like it. I can go, oh, you know, I found out I don't like that, but somebody else will. And I can go and get stuff that I do like. But I like the idea that I can try everything and decide what I want, what I like, when I like it, so on and so forth. And so a lack of abundance for me is just not having options, not having the freedom of choice. And so I love knowing that in my abundance, I have the freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want.
Very interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a common, I find that very common. Like a lot of people seek abundance in various ways, but in the end it's the freedom that you get to be able to make the choices in life. And it's not one specific thing, it's just being able to. And you are a healer that helps people get the lives that they want. Is there a specific method that you go through?
Well, I learned so many different modalities. So there's a lot of different methods, but I've kind of married a little bit of each modality that I've learned. And I've created my own healing technique, which is ascended healing. And the way that I do that healing could be like one-on-one, in person, which I rarely do because I have people all over the world and we're in a strange place on this planet right now where people are not meeting up. And I do it on Zoom and Skype and just on the phone. I don't even have to see people to be able to connect with them. And thankfully, my psychic training helped me with that one, because when I was doing psychic readings, I would prefer not to see the person because I don't want to see if you have a wedding ring. If it comes to me that you're married, I want that to come psychically. I don't want to have the human judgment, because we naturally look at people and judge things. We assume things, right? And so therefore, if I see a ring on your finger, I might assume that you're married, even if you're not. So I actually like the aspect of connecting with people without seeing them. And so for the healing work, that was perfect, because I could just get on the phone and start healing people long distance, right? And so that the technique is, you know, everything that I put together, but it's also like recorded healing. And I call the recorded healing Ascension Codes, because they're basically codes is what I'm giving you. And there are different codes to unlock different blocks in your life so that you can have the life that you want to experience, whether that's health or money or love. You know, my favorite is love at this point, because I love the idea of love, because once you heal your heart and you can be open to love, you actually start bringing in abundance in every area of your life. Every area. If you are cut off to love, and that means people loving you and you giving love in return, then you will cut off the other abundance in your life. It all comes from the heart. And it took me years. And when I say years, it took me years to fully understand that. And spiritual people talk about it all the time. It's all about love. It all comes down to love. It's all about love. And I'm like, you guys are wasting your time. Like, what are you, like a relationship? Like, I don't understand relationships and I don't want one. Like, I'm all about my career, you know? And when I finally realized what that meant, when my heart was opened, and it's like, it's not about being in a relationship, although it could include that. It's love is your heart opening and being able to receive. And sometimes people love through gifts, through money, through, you know, clients wanting to pay you versus hiding out and not paying you, right? That's you accepting their love, their energy, their frequency. So you have to have that heart open to even accept cash, accept money.
Is there there's so much I want to ask, because this is in terms of like, now manifesting has been a word that I have been so intrigued with, and people have mentioned so many times to me. Is what exactly is manifesting, and how can we utilize this?
Manifesting is something we're doing all the time. So I was talking about, it's all about the heart. So when I'm very scientific, I'm a geek when it comes to science. I love science. I always have, always will. So I like to be able to do the woo-woo stuff, which is the psychic stuff and the stuff we consider spiritual. And like, is there really any proof with that? Is what people would consider woo-woo, right? I love to get to the scientific aspect of it, which is the proof, which is the stuff that people have known for 5,000, 10,000 years, but we're just starting to see the proof of it now that they were right, right? And so scientifically speaking, they have found that our heart is actually a magnet. So this is so in line with what we're talking about today, the magnetically aligned woman, right? So our heart is actually a magnet that attracts things to us. And the way the brain works is like a heat-seeking missile. It's just like a magnet. So when you grow up between the ages of 2 and 6 years old, you're primarily in a theta state. When you're in a theta state, it's like hypnosis. Like if you've ever driven to work and you don't remember how you got there, it's because your brain went on autopilot. When a child is playing a game, like a video game, and you keep calling their name and they don't hear you, they're in a theta state. So you're primarily in that theta state. So anything you get while you're in a theta state has no filter. It all is reality. So if you're watching a commercial, a TV show, a cartoon that has very disturbing things in it, like people getting killed and then coming back to life, as a child, you will think that's reality. This is your reality. This is true. This is real, right? Which is why kids can be a little dangerous, because they don't realize, there's boundaries, things you got to learn. So you have all these programs that are going in on a regular basis. And so whatever you decided life was, or what you heard life was between the ages of 2 and 6 years old, is what your brain will always try to seek out. It's a heat-seeking missile. It's magnetically aligned, create the same information over and over and over again based on the data that it collected as a child, okay? And so then your heart is a magnet, your brain becomes a magnet, and so therefore you're attracting the things that you're used to attracting into your life, and that is what manifestation is. Manifestation is happening 24 hours a day. You are manifesting right now. Me sitting in front of you is a manifestation of something you went to create, correct? When we're talking about manifestation, we're not talking about truly just manifesting because we're always doing it. We're talking about the difference between manifesting something you don't want and manifesting something you do want. And that is where the distinction really is, right? You're always manifesting. Everything that happens is a manifestation of something in your energy field, period. If you manifest a horrendous accident, and this is what used to make me angry when I was your age, because I was like, I wouldn't have attracted that. Why would I attract something negative? Just think about it. If you attracted a horrific accident, I would look at how I felt about it. And if I got into an accident, I would probably feel like a failure. Like, it's my fault. Why is this happening to me? I may even go into victimization. Like, life just sucks, and it only sucks for me. Then if I look back as a child, when did I feel that way? When did I feel and create a program that life sucks? It only sucks for me, and I feel like a failure. I didn't do it correctly. Maybe my mom wasn't happy when I brought home an A. She didn't get excited about it, so I felt like a failure. So you can see where a past feeling is in direct connection with the present feeling. And therefore you have to heal that past feeling to not create that feeling in your present anymore, which is where healing comes in to help you manifest a better reality, right? So you always want to look at what you're creating, what you're manifesting. If it isn't what you want, how do you heal that thing so that you're creating only in the space in which you want to create? And that's how you manifest what it is that you actually desire. And a lot of people, when they manifest from a place of fear. They are manifesting from a place of lack. They're manifesting from a place of everything you don't want. And so that's what you're creating on a day-to-day basis. And it changes when you decide that I want to create from a place of fun, right? Like, my desires are positive. Like, my desires are good. Because I know I can get that end result. Instead of seeing it as a negative, you see it as a positive, and you will start to create positive things in your life because of it.
Very interesting. Is there a way to shift your energy consciously? Because you said a lot of the things we manifest all the time, and it can be subconscious. So is there a way to consciously create these changes in our subconscious mind?
There's actually a lot of ways to do it. I always recommend, whether people are working with me or not, doesn't matter. This is just the truth of the situation. When you're younger, you tend to try to do things on your own. And sometimes it's like, that's all I can afford to do is go get a book and read it, and whatever comes from that. As you get older, you start realizing having a coach, having a teacher, having a mentor is the easiest way to get through anything, because they've done all the work for you, and you can learn from them, and you can bypass a lot of the heartache. When I started with affirmations. I would change a negative thought into a positive thought. And it's probably one of the longest ways to actually heal. And when you start lying to yourself, when truth for you is your belief system, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. That is your truth, right? Everybody has their own reality, their own truth. If you believe I am ugly and I will never be loved, I would change that to I am beautiful and everybody loves me. The brain will try everything it can to prove you wrong in the beginning. So life can get worse instead of better. But if you have no other tools, it will still work. You just have to make sure when life gets harder, you keep it up. You keep doing it, right? You push through it, and then you'll see the miracles happen on the other side. It's just a longer process. If you have a coach, if you have a healer, if you have a mentor, if you watch the videos and read the book, you kind of, surround yourself with people who can teach you a much faster way of doing it, or somebody who can heal those blocks, you can almost do it instantly. It can literally take years off of your self-help, is to get with somebody else who can help you do it. So there's many ways to be able to shift your thinking. For me, even today, a lot of times if I get to a negative thought pattern, I will actually go in and do a healing on myself. But if I didn't have the awareness to do a healing, I think I would go in and say, is this true? I understand it's a belief. Beliefs aren't facts. Why am I acting like it is a fact? That instantly does something to my brain. It instantly works, because I'm just like, oh, yeah, I like to think my beliefs are real, but beliefs are just beliefs. Okay, so is it a fact? It's not a fact, so I can move on with my life now. So that's a fast way to get through that too, without having the negative repercussions of an affirmation.
What are your thoughts now? Now I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on fake it till you make it? Since
It works in a lot of instances though, right? Because you create your reality. So a lot of people, the way they fake it till they make it, and this is actually a business technique. So if somebody calls your business and they're like, hey, are you able to do this thing? And you're like, I know I could learn that really fast by the time that they needed it. So I could just say yes and go learn, or I could say no and lose out on the possibility. If I said yes, do I have enough time to actually learn that thing, or am I just taking their money and I can't help them? So you do a real quick assessment, right? And if you're like, no, I can learn that thing and give it to them, then you say yes, of course, absolutely. I know how to do that. And then you just talk, being paid to basically learn something new and help this person, and then they're like amazed by it, and it becomes the next thing that you offer as a service. It works. I mean, there's a lot of us who would never make it or succeed had we not faked it until we made it. Affirmation aspect, where we're just like, oh, I love myself, but inside you feel like, actually, I really hate myself. It's not the greatest way to fake it till you make it, because usually, like I said, things get worse. So it really depends on what we're talking about. Like, yes, sometimes it works, and sometimes no, I wouldn't test that. Like, no, I wouldn't do that. So yeah, you just have to kind of assess every situation for itself.
very
I
interesting.
mean, you create your own reality. If it's the truth, it becomes your truth. If it's a false, it becomes a lie. So you have to determine what is true for you.
Right. I'm thinking back to like my own personal experiences, because I always teach from my own experiences, and I find that a lot of people can relate better. I always think about like the times that I try to fake, especially on social media. Like you try to fake being happy, or you try to fake your lifestyle, like you're pretending that everything is okay, and then at some point, I hit a breaking point where I'm just like, this is not really me. Like, why am I pretending to be this way? And then shifting that to being more authentic. So I find myself like realigning to what my values are, like on the inside, being more authentic, showing people that life on the outside is not exactly life on social media that a lot of people portray. And in the process, I find myself being happier. Actually, like I was like, I'm happy. You know what? I'm not perfect. Whatever.
You and I have the same coach. And have you heard her say, what did she say? You're not here to be liked. You're here to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Have you heard her say that? When we're on social media and we're trying to fake who we are, and we're not being authentic, right? Because we're afraid that people won't like us. And so I love her words when she says, you're not here to be liked, because that gives you a whole new set of permissions. It gives you a whole new set of how you can approach the world. That's like, well, if I'm not here to be liked, that means I could be authentic without worrying about if you like me or not, right? And so therefore you get to be, you don't have to fake it till you make it. You can just be authentic, which is going to change over time. And I think there's this concept that when you're authentic, it means that you're this one thing all the time. And I'm like, authenticity for me is constantly changing. Constantly. My belief systems are changing. How I approach the world is changing. So how I show up is always going to change. So that permission to not be like, just to have my opinion, you know, just to share who I really am. And if you don't like my opinion, get off my page. And I think that's what I like about growing older. We were talking about that earlier. That's what I love about growing older, is that you start just don't care. You know, when you're young, when you're like 20 to 30 years old, basically what you're experiencing is you're trying to gain independence from your parents. You've always been under their thumb. You've always been under their rules. Now you're an adult. You can do what you want. So that 10 years of your life is literally like you're trying to make your career work. You're trying to make relationships work. In your mind, you're just trying to gain independence. That's all you want, is that I'm not my mother's child. I am me. I am authentically just me, whatever that means, right? So you have like this 10-year process of something that you're trying to go through. So you know, that authenticity is going to change as you're showing the world who you are. And so during that 10-year process that you're trying to disconnect from your parents, you still have that connection of, I want to make mommy and daddy happy. I want their approval because they're like God in my eyes. They're everything. They kept me alive. How do I exist without them? And so therefore, part of that extension of getting mommy and daddy's approvals, everybody has to like me. Everybody has to love me. Once you hit about 30 years old, you're kind of over it. You're like, I'm no longer looking for my mother's father's approval. I'm independent. I'm my own personality. With or without them doesn't matter. And so therefore on social media, if you don't like me, so what? You know, and so between 30 and 40 is you're kind of entering that stage of just, you're lucky if you can figure that out earlier.
In the process. Definitely in the process. But everything you mentioned, it makes a lot of sense. I find a lot of connectedness to it, and I find a lot of younger people have this connectedness of people pleasing and trying to find their own identity. This is the whole question of, okay, this is what society says life is supposed to look like, and abundance is supposed to look like a lot of money or a specific career. But in reality, like, you don't find, while you're searching for this independence, while you're searching for your whatever it is that you feel connected to, there's so many exterior forces telling you otherwise, and then fighting against that. So the purpose of the show is like, how do we get past that faster? Like, how do we, I guess, like, move in a way more aligned with us, and create a safe haven to be able to express this without letting the external forces kind of shift you in other directions.
Remembering that awareness is everything. Awareness of the process. Everything that I've talked about, you know, age 20 or 18 to 30 being about independence from your parents. Understanding that process will help you get through it a lot faster. If you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to fumble through it until you get to the other side, still not realizing what the last 12 years was about. When you have that awareness, when you have complete awareness of the process that you're going through, you're going to respect the process, but you're also going to see how to make it a little bit faster because you understand what you're doing. So awareness really is the only way to speed up that natural process that we're going through. Because remember, you're trying to force a child that was just born to go into, you know, the walking and changing its own diaper and feeding itself mode, right? By trying to force yourself through it. And speed it up a little bit through that aspect of awareness, but you still have a process to go through. Even if you speed up one certain area of your life, you still have a process that you have to go through in that area, even if the process is speeded up. So it's that awareness that I am on my path. I'm speeding it up a little bit, but I'm still on that path. I'm not getting off that path. We're not detouring to the end result, right? I'm learning how to enjoy the path until I get to the end result with that awareness now. I can respect where I am now, which is going to make everything faster, which is going to make everything happier, which means I get to enjoy my life along the way instead of fighting life. All we want to do is have love and be happy. That is what every human being on this planet wants. I don't care how they're doing it. I don't care if you're a serial killer. I don't care if you're an abuser. in the end, you are trying to take care of yourself. It all comes from love in the end. And not having that awareness is what creates abusers. Not having that awareness is what creates dysfunction. When we have that awareness that we just want love, we just want to be happy, we can move straight to that instead of taking the detours of trying to get money and trying to get a career and trying to get a relationship. If we focus on happiness, all of those things will come to us. That's what it really comes down to, is awareness.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
And now that we're wrapping up, would you give us like some words of wisdom? And I know you have something special for the audience as well. Can you also share that with us as well?
I can. I would say my words of wisdom is to actually take action. If you listen to something and you're like, oh, cool, I know that now because I learned it. Like, I read that book, I listened to that speaker, I'm good. You don't know it. You've heard it. You don't know it. You don't know it until you take action and experience it for yourself. If you really want your life to change, you have to take action. Whether you want to take action or not, whether you're somebody who procrastinates or not, you are capable of moving throughout that procrastination. You are capable of moving faster, right? You are capable of getting through this. So take action. Like, that is the wisest thing you could ever do. Pushing play on this video and watching this interview was taking action. So continue to do that throughout your life and you'll see success. You'll always come out ahead in the end. You just will, as long as you keep taking action without giving up. You can take a break, but don't give up. And my free gift.
Yes.
So like I said, I have Ascension Codes, which are my healing recordings that you can literally play and change your life, right? And I have a lot of them on YouTube, so you can look at my channel, the Ascension channel, and feel free to go look at those. But I have one specific one that I've made free for this summit, and it's called the Billionaire Gene Activation. And what we're doing is we are activating ourselves to pure abundance. We're activating ourselves to pure abundance. And a lot of times when people hear this one and they listen to it, they start to feel very strange. Their stomach starts to gurgle. You can feel the energetic shifts of this healing. And so I'm like, we're moving into a place where we are trying to find our purpose. We're moving into a place where we are trying to find our abundance. So what better one to give to people? And it's free for a limited time. So it's free for this event before I put a price tag on it again. But I think that's the best one to give to people. And when you download it, I think there's 2 other free ones that people get as well. But this one is the most important foundational one.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Adrien, for being here and sharing your wisdom with us today. And for everybody listening, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm excited to see you guys in the next episode and take action. Like Adrien says, the whole purpose of this event is more knowledge, but more awareness so that you can have, true abundance, the life that you want. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here, Adrien.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and sorry for the changing the time and then